He just went into the woods to hide on his dad. But then he was gone, never to be seen again. This is the story of Dennis Martin, the 6-year-old boy who mysteriously disappeared in the Appalachian Mountains. He went on a fun Father's Day camping trip with his family. They were deep in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, one of the most beautiful and busiest parks in America. But then, Dennis disappeared. And what makes this story so strange is that he vanished in broad daylight, surrounded by people, with no sign of where he went. Even today, over 50 years later, no one knows what really happened. It was June 14th, 1969. Dennis was hiking with his dad, grandfather, and older brother. They were headed to a place called Spence Field, a big grassy meadow up in the mountains. On the trail, they met another family with kids, so the boys decided to play a quick game of hide and seek. Dennis picked a hiding spot just behind a bush not far from the trees. His dad even saw him duck behind it. But when the other kids came out laughing and yelling, Dennis didn't appear. His dad called his name and there was no answer. At first, everyone thought they'd find Dennis quickly. After all, they knew where he was last seen, and it had only been a few minutes, but they were unable to find him. Soon, more people joined the search. Park rangers, volunteers, even the U.S. Army. Over 1,400 people looked through the forest. They searched caves, rivers, and trails. They brought in helicopters, bloodhounds, and expert trackers. But not one clue was found. No shoe, no piece of clothing, not even a footprint. A few days later, another family came forward. The Key family had been hiking several miles away near a place called Rowan's Creek. Around the same time Dennis went missing, they heard a loud, scary scream from the woods. Then, they saw something strange. A rough-looking man running through the trees. He had something over his shoulder, something the size of a child. At first, they didn't think much of it, but once they heard about Dennis, they told the police. Investigator Michael Bouchard revealed that Harold Key, the man who reported the Rowan's Creek sighting, was explicitly instructed by FBI agents James Reich and Wallace F. Estell not to discuss what he saw during their interviews. Not long after those interviews, Key received anonymous phone calls telling him to forget about what he saw at Rowan's Creek. This happened on at least 2 occasions, adding a serious layer of mystery and suspicion to the case. Could it have been a kidnapper? Was Dennis taken? We'll look into each theory throughout this video. One in particular is frightening. Theory 1, Dennis got lost. This is what park rangers first believed. Maybe Dennis wandered too far and couldn't find his way back. That night, a big storm rolled in and dropped heavy rain, enough to hide any tracks or clues. But Dennis was wearing a bright red shirt. He should have stood out in the green forest. And after all that searching, they found nothing. No clothes, no signs. Not even the dogs could follow his scent. Theory 2, animal attack. Some think a wild animal, like a bear or a mountain lion, could have grabbed him. But again, that doesn't quite make sense. If a bear had taken Dennis, there would have been signs, like torn clothes, blood, or drag marks. But there weren't any. And nobody in that area heard a struggle. Theory 3, kidnapped by a stranger. Some investigators argued there wasn't enough time for anyone to abduct Dennis and reach Rowan's Creek on foot so quickly. Dennis's father, Bill Martin, believed it was very possible. He knew the terrain and thought someone familiar with the park, or determined enough, could have made it there in time, especially if they were moving quickly and had a head start before the search really began. And if that's true, who was that man? And how did he get away in such a busy park? Theory 4, wild people in the woods. This theory sounds like something out of a scary story, but some people believe it. For years, locals in the mountains have talked about strange people living deep in the forest, people who don't talk to anyone, people who hide from the outside world. Some call them wild men. People go missing in moments. Search dogs can't track their scent, and then storms often hit right after they vanish. If clothing is found, it's sometimes miles away, and oddly, neatly folded. And in the rare cases where bodies are recovered, they're often found in places that were already searched. Dennis's case fits every one of these patterns. Some say it's just bad luck, but others believe there's something bigger going on, something no one can fully explain.